The Galactic Union did not scare easily. It had been formed from the ashes of 3 interstellar wars, 2 extinction-level conflicts, and 1 incident that no one spoke about anymore. Its chambers had witnessed horrors, miracles, betrayals, and alliances that reshaped entire sectors of the galaxy. It had seen predators evolve into diplomats. It had seen conquerors become protectors. It had seen monsters learn mercy. But it had never seen anything like humanity. The assembly spire floated in orbit above the neutral world of Arundel Prime, its structure a spiraling monument of crystal and alloy, designed to house the most powerful political body in known space. Inside its central chamber, representatives from 112 species gathered in a slow, uneasy murmur. The topic of the day: humanity's admission request. They are unstable. The voice came from Delegate Varric of the Threx Dominion, his chitinous limbs clicking sharply against the polished floor. They are unpredictable, excessively violent, and come from a world classified as Category 9 Death World. Their inclusion presents unnecessary risk. Across the chamber, several delegates made sounds of agreement. Others did not. They are also innovative. That response came from Scholar Islan of the Safari Collective, her translucent form pulsing softly with bioluminescent thought patterns. In less than 2 centuries, they progressed from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel. That level of adaptability is unprecedented. Adaptability? Varric snapped. They nearly destroyed themselves multiple times before even leaving their home system. Yet they survived every time, Islan replied calmly. That is precisely the point. A low ripple spread through the chamber. Survival. That word carried weight. In the Galactic Union, survival against overwhelming odds was not dismissed, it was studied. High Chancellor Orixa raised one of her forearms, and silence fell instantly. "The debate has been recorded," she said, her voice layered with harmonic authority. "We will now proceed with the formal introduction of Earth's representative." She paused. "And their accompanying personnel." That last part caused a noticeable shift in the room, because the official transmission had included something unusual. The humans were bringing a guardian. No one knew exactly what that meant, but everyone had theories. The massive doors to the chamber began to open, not quickly, not dramatically, slowly, deliberately, as if whatever stood beyond them wanted to make sure every single being inside had time to feel it coming. The first to enter was the ambassador. Ambassador Ilara Vance of Earth walked forward with calm, measured steps. She wore a formal uniform of deep blue and silver, marked with the insignia of the United Earth Coalition. Her posture was straight, her expression composed, her gaze steady. She looked normal. Too normal. That alone made several delegates uneasy. Then the second figure stepped through the doorway. Everything changed. He was larger than expected. Not just tall, though he easily stood over 2 meters, but solid in a way that suggested density rather than size, like gravity had more influence on him than it did on others. His uniform was black, not ceremonial, not decorative, functional, minimal, efficient. But it wasn't the uniform that drew attention, it was him. His presence filled the chamber in a way that no weapon ever had. Not loud, not aggressive, just there. His eyes moved first, not his body, his eyes. They scanned, measured, calculated. Every entrance, every exit, every delegate, every potential threat. And in that moment, something ancient and instinctive stirred in the minds of nearly every species present. Predator. Not just any predator, a thinking one. A being that understood violence and chose when to use it. Distinguished members of the Galactic Union, Ambassador Vance said, her voice steady. I am Ilara Vance, representing Earth. She gestured slightly behind her. And this is Commander Adrian Cole, my guardian. The word landed heavily. Guardian. Not soldier, not bodyguard, not weapon. Something else. Commander Cole said nothing. He simply stood, hands relaxed at his sides, posture neutral. But no one in that chamber believed for a second that he was relaxed. Delegate Varric leaned forward, his mandibles twitching sharply. That is unnecessary. Ambassador Vance smiled slightly. I assure you, Commander Cole is here for precaution only. This is a diplomatic chamber, Varric pressed. We have security protocols. And we respect them, Vance interrupted politely, which is why he is unarmed. That made things worse. Because every species in that room knew one thing about humans. They did not need weapons. A faint whisper passed through the chamber. Stories, rumors, reports. Humans surviving wounds that should have killed them. Humans continuing to fight after losing limbs. Humans forming bonds with creatures that should have eaten them. Humans walking into impossible situations and refusing to lose. High Chancellor Arixa observed the silent figure carefully. Commander Cole, she said, do you perceive a threat in this chamber? A dangerous question. Every being present felt it. If he said yes, insult. If he said no, either arrogance or deception. Commander Cole answered anyway. Yes. The chamber froze. A few delegates recoiled, others leaned forward. But he wasn't finished. There are currently 112 species present. 87 possess natural or technological means capable of causing harm to a human. He paused. 19 could do so immediately from their current position. Silence. Absolute silence. And yet, he added calmly, I assess the probability of hostile action as extremely low. That tension snapped just slightly. Why? The Chancellor asked. Commander Cole finally shifted his gaze towards her. Because you are here to talk, he said simply. And I am here to make sure talking remains an option. Something changed in the room. Not fear, not exactly. Understanding. Ambassador Vance stepped forward again. That, she said, is humanity. She looked around the chamber. We are dangerous. She didn't hesitate, didn't soften it, didn't deny it. But we are also disciplined. Her voice grew stronger. Earth did not make us gentle, it made us capable. A pause. And then we learned restraint. Commander Cole remained silent, still, watching. Not threatening, not aggressive, just ready. And somehow, that was far more unsettling. Because everyone in that chamber realized the same thing at once. If a human chose violence, it would not be chaotic. It would not be emotional. It would be controlled, precise, and final. High Chancellor Arixa leaned back slowly. For the first time in decades, she felt something unexpected. Not fear, but caution. Proceed with your statement, Ambassador Vance, she said. And somewhere deep in the instincts of every species present,
the chamber had only just begun to settle. Ambassador Ilara Vance stood at the central platform, preparing to continue her address, while Commander Adrian Cole remained behind her, silent, watchful, unmoving. To most, it looked like stillness. To a few, it looked like coiled inevitability. Humanity does not come to the Union seeking dominance, Vance said, her voice carrying across the chamber. We come seeking... Commander Cole moved. Not fast, not dramatic, just suddenly different. One moment he was still. The next, his head tilted slightly, his eyes narrowed, and for the first time since entering the chamber, he stopped scanning everything and focused on one thing, high above, near the upper observation ring. Down. The word wasn't shouted, it wasn't panicked, it was quiet, flat, absolute. Ambassador Vance didn't hesitate. She dropped instantly. The shot came a fraction of a second later. A thin beam of violet energy lanced across the chamber, slicing through the space where her head had been. It struck the far wall, leaving molten crystal in its wake. For half a heartbeat, no one reacted. Then chaos detonated. Delegates screamed. Atmospheric suits flared to life too late. "Assassination attempt," someone shouted, but Commander Cole was already moving, and this time everyone saw it. He didn't run. He closed distance. In 3 steps, he reached the base of the chamber's inner wall. In one motion, he grabbed a structural seam. In the next, he was climbing. Not scrambling, not struggling, climbing like gravity was a suggestion. The assassin fired again. Cole twisted mid-motion. The beam passed so close it scorched fabric from his sleeve, but not skin. He kept moving, every step placed with terrifying precision, every motion efficient, no wasted energy, no hesitation. The chamber's security drones finally activated, rising from concealed ports in the walls, but they were too slow, because Cole was already there. The assassin was perched in the upper observation tier, partially concealed behind a distortion field, a cloaked figure, 4 arms, weapon integrated into one limb, professional, prepared, not prepared enough. Cole reached the platform edge and launched himself upward. For a brief, impossible moment, he was airborne. Then he hit the platform, hard. The assassin reacted instantly, swinging the weapon toward him, but Cole was already inside the firing arc. One hand seized the weapon arm, the other struck, fast, precise, not lethal. The joint collapsed with a sharp crack. The weapon discharged harmlessly into the ceiling. The assassin tried to pull back, another arm reaching for a secondary blade. Cole intercepted, twisted, pinned. 3 movements, that was all it took. The assassin was on the ground, alive, but completely unable to move. Silence spread through the chamber again. Not chaos this time. Shock. Pure, stunned silence. Security forces finally arrived, weapons raised, only to find the situation already under control. Commander Cole remained crouched over the restrained attacker, one hand holding them in place, the other already removing the weapon components with mechanical efficiency. "Target secured," he said, calmly, as if this were routine, as if this were expected. Below, Ambassador Vance rose slowly to her feet, unharmed. Her eyes moved to Cole, then to the chamber. "You see," she said quietly. No one spoke. No one needed to, because every single delegate had just witnessed something undeniable. The human had not panicked, had not hesitated, had not overreacted. He had simply acted, fast enough to save a life, controlled enough to avoid taking one. High Chancellor Arixa stood, slowly. "Identify the attacker," she ordered. The security team scanned the restrained figure. A moment later, their tone shifted. "Chancellor, this individual is not registered as any delegate or staff." A ripple of unease spread. "Origin," Arixa demanded. The response came with hesitation. "Unknown. Their biology is modified. Genetic markers from multiple species. Extensive augmentation." A murmur of alarm. An infiltrator. Not just an assassin. Something designed. Commander Cole finally stood, releasing the now secured attacker to the guards. "They're not working alone," he said. Every head turned. "Explain," the Chancellor demanded. Cole's gaze moved across the chamber again, not scanning, analyzing. "Single operative wouldn't risk exposure in a chamber like this without support, either extraction or follow-up strike." A cold realization settled over the room. This wasn't just an assassination attempt. It was the beginning of something bigger. "Seal the station," Arixa ordered immediately. "No one enters or leaves." Already too late for that, Cole replied quietly, and as if the universe itself had been waiting for those words, the entire chamber shuddered, lights flickered, then dimmed. A deep, resonant alarm began to echo through the structure, not localized, station-wide. A voice cut through the noise, automated, urgent. "Warning! Unidentified vessels detected. Multiple contacts exiting warp space." The main display ignited, and what it showed made even the most battle-hardened species go still. A fleet. Not large, but wrong. Their ships were jagged, asymmetrical, moving in patterns that defied standard formation logic. Predatory, watching, waiting. Commander Cole stared at the screen. For the first time, his expression changed. Not fear, recognition. "They're here," he said quietly. Ambassador Vance turned to him. "Who?" A brief pause. Then, "Something," Cole said, "that doesn't care about your laws, your diplomacy," his eyes hardened, "or your mercy." The fleet began to move, and in that moment every delegate in the Galactic Union realized something terrifying. The human they had feared might be the only thing standing between them and whatever was coming.
The alarms didn't stop. They deepened. A low, resonant pulse spread through the station, vibrating through the walls, the floor, through bone, chitin, fluid, and whatever passed for nervous systems across 112 species. The display filled with tactical data. Vectors, heat signatures, unknown energy readings. The fleet outside did not behave like any known military force. They didn't form ranks. They didn't hold distance. They circled, like predators testing a perimeter. High Chancellor Arixa's voice cut through the chaos. "All defense systems to full readiness. Shield generators, maximum output. Identify those vessels immediately." "Identification unavailable," a technician replied, their voice shaking. "Database match returns 0 known classifications." 0. That word landed harder than any weapon. Commander Adrian Cole stepped forward. Not to the center, not to take control, but close enough to see everything. "Magnify Vessel 3, he said. No one questioned him. The display zoomed. The ship's surface wasn't smooth. It wasn't engineered in the way most species understood engineering. It looked grown. Segments pulsed faintly. Veins of dim light ran beneath a dark, uneven hull. "Not mechanical," Cole murmured. "Hybrid biostructure, maybe adaptive." "You've seen this before?" Ambassador Vance asked quietly. Cole didn't answer immediately. "Not exactly," he said finally, "but I've seen patterns like it." Outside, the fleet moved closer. No warning, no communication. Then they fired. The first volley hit the station's shields like a hammer. Not a beam, not plasma, something else. The energy splashed across the barrier in rippling distortions, like liquid light trying to tear its way through. The shields held, but barely. "Impact registered across all sectors," a security officer shouted. "Shield integrity dropping, 92%, 89%. "They're probing," Cole said. "Probing?" Arixa snapped. "That was a full assault." Cole shook his head slightly. "No, that was them asking a question." Another impact, harder. The shields flickered. "Now they're checking your answer." Silence fell for a fraction of a second. Then everything accelerated. "Return fire," Arixa ordered. The station's defense platforms came alive. Hidden batteries unfolded from the outer ring, glowing with charged energy. They fired in unison. Brilliant arcs of plasma and focused beams lanced outward and passed straight through 2 of the enemy ships. No explosion, no damage, just through. A ripple of confusion spread. "Direct hits confirmed, no effect," the weapons officer said, disbelief in their voice. Cole's eyes narrowed. "They're phasing." "Impossible," someone whispered. "Not impossible," Cole corrected, "just rare and expensive." Another volley from the fleet. This time, different. A focused strike slammed into one section of the shield. The barrier buckled. Sector 12 integrity collapsing. 72%, 61%. They're adapting, Cole said. That got everyone's attention. Adapting? Arixa repeated. They're not firing randomly anymore, he explained. They're learning your shield frequency in real time, adjusting output to match resonance points. Another hit, the same spot. 48%. They found your weak frequency band, Cole said. The room went cold. Then change it, someone shouted. We are, the technician snapped back. They're matching every adjustment. A silence filled with dread. They're thinking, Ambassador Vance said quietly. No, Cole replied. His gaze hardened. They're learning. Another strike. 33%. The outer edge of the chamber trembled. Cracks spiderwebbed across reinforced crystal panels. Panic began to rise again, until Cole spoke. Enough. It wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. Every voice, every alarm, every rising fear. Chancellor, he said, turning slightly, you have two options. Arixa's eyes locked on him. Speak. Option 1, you keep reacting. They keep learning. Your shields fail in under 4 minutes. A beat. Option 2? Cole's voice didn't change. You let me change the rules. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. You are asking for tactical authority, Arixa said slowly. I'm asking for permission to keep this station intact. Another impact. 21%. That decided it. Arixa didn't hesitate again. Granted. Every system in the room paused for just a fraction as control shifted. A human, given command of the Galactic Union's primary defense station. Cole moved immediately. Kill all automated frequency adjustments. What? The technician blurted. Do it. They did. Now set shield frequency to static band. Don't change it no matter what happens. That will make us predictable. Exactly. A few delegates stared, realization dawning. You're baiting them, Ambassador Vance said quietly. Cole didn't look at her. Yes. Outside, the next volley came. It struck the same weakened sector, harder, more focused. 15%. They're committing, Cole said. His fingers moved across the interface, fast, precise. Power redistribution, he ordered. Route auxiliary energy to internal reinforcement fields. Prepare localized shield collapse on my mark. Collapse? Arixa snapped. That would expose the station. For half a second, Cole replied. Another hit. 9%. The fleet tightened formation, like predators closing in for the kill. They think they've won, Cole said quietly. His eyes locked on the display. Good. Mark, he said. The shield dropped. For 0.4 seconds, space touched the station, and the enemy ships surged forward, exactly as he predicted. Now, the station came alive. Hidden weapons, systems even the Union rarely used, activated all at once, not aimed at where the ships were, but where they were going. Energy fields snapped into place, not to block, but to trap. The moment the ships phased forward, they hit resistance, real resistance, inside the station's defensive grid. They can't phase inside a solid field, someone shouted. Cole didn't answer. He was already executing the next step. Fire everything, and this time it worked. The enemy ships didn't pass through. They hit. Hard. Explosions ripped through the formation. One ship tore apart instantly. Another spun out of control. The rest tried to retreat, but the trap had already closed. Precision strikes, calculated angles, no wasted fire. Within seconds, the impossible fleet was breaking. Not destroyed, but no longer in control. Inside the chamber, no one spoke. They just watched, as the human did what none of them could. He didn't overpower the enemy, he outthought them, and for the first time, the fear in that room changed. Not fear of humanity, but fear of what would happen without them. Cole stepped back from the console. Your move, he said quietly. Outside, the remaining ships hesitated, and then something new happened. A signal. Incoming.
Not a surrender, not a threat, something else. The translation system struggled, flickered, then finally stabilized. A voice echoed through the chamber, distorted, alien. Adaptive resistance confirmed. A pause. Then escalation authorized. The surviving ships didn't retreat. They changed. Their forms began to shift, grow, evolve, right in front of them. Commander Cole stared at the screen, and this time his voice was very quiet. Yeah, a long pause. Then, now it gets worse.
The ships outside were changing. Not repositioning, not retreating, evolving. Their jagged hulls split and reformed, segments unfolding like living organisms responding to injury. Dark surfaces rippled, reshaping into sharper, more aggressive forms. Weapons grew where none had existed before. Armor thickened. Energy signatures spiked, wild, unstable, adaptive. The chamber fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. "Report," Chancellor Orexa demanded, her voice tight. "Energy output increasing across all hostile vessels," a technician replied. "Unknown systems coming online. Weapon configurations are shifting." "Shifting how?" she snapped. "They're redesigning themselves in real time." A murmur of dread spread through the delegates. Ambassador Vance looked to Commander Cole. "You've seen this before," she said quietly. Cole didn't look away from the screen. "I've seen the theory," he replied. A pause. "Never wanted to see it working." Outside, one of the ships pulsed and fired. The beam that struck the station was different. Not fluid, not probing. Focused. It punched into the shields like a drill. Impact. Shield integrity 12%. The barrier screamed under the strain. "They've adapted to the trap," Cole said. Another shot. Same point. 8%. Cracks spread across the station's outer plating. Fragments broke loose into space. "They're not just learning," Ambassador Vance whispered. "They're improving." Cole nodded once. "Faster than we can react." Another impact. 5%. The chamber lights flickered. Gravity fluctuated for a split second. Then, a new alarm. Different. Closer. Warning, hull breach detected. Not outside, inside. Every head snapped toward the lower levels on the tactical display. Multiple red points, spreading. "They're boarding," someone said, voice breaking. "How?" another shouted. "The shields are still—" "They're not coming through the shields," Cole cut in. His expression had gone completely still. "They're coming through the damage." The realization hit like a physical blow. Those ships weren't just attacking, they were creating entry points. "Security teams to breach zones," Orexa ordered. "Contain all intrusions." But even as she spoke, the red points multiplied. Too fast, too many. "They're already in multiple sectors," a security officer yelled. Screams echoed faintly through the comm channels. Then, static. Cole turned. "Ambassador," he said. Vance met his eyes. "Go," she replied. No hesitation, no argument, just trust. Cole moved. Not toward the command console, not toward safety, toward the breach. Lower sector, Corridor 7. The hallway was dim. Emergency lighting flickered in pulses of red. A jagged tear in the wall vented atmosphere into space, sealed only partially by a failing containment field. And in front of it, something crawled through. It wasn't fully one shape. Limbs formed and reformed as it moved, edges sharp, then smooth, then sharp again. A living weapon. A security team fired. Standard energy rifles. Direct hits. No effect. The creature absorbed the blasts, its surface shifting, adapting. Then it lunged, fast, too fast. One guard went down instantly. Another was thrown into the wall hard enough to crack armor.
The third tried to retreat. Too late. Then, a hand grabbed the creature, hard, stopped it mid-motion. Commander Cole. He didn't hesitate, didn't analyze, didn't step back. He stepped in. The creature twisted, its limb forming a blade. Cole caught it. The edge bit into his forearm. Blood. Real. But he didn't let go. Instead, he pulled, harder than the creature expected. Its balance shifted, just enough. Cole struck. Not wildly, not repeatedly. Once. Precise, directly into the central mass. The creature convulsed, its form destabilized, flickering, then collapsed into inert matter. Silence. Heavy breathing. One of the injured guards stared at him. "You fought it, up close." Cole flexed his injured arm slightly, ignoring the blood. Distance wasn't working. He looked down at the remains. They adapt to energy. A pause. Let's see how they handle something simpler. Back in the assembly chamber, the situation was deteriorating, fast. More breach alerts, more sectors compromised. Delegates were being evacuated, not fast enough. "They're everywhere," a security officer yelled. "We can't contain them." Ambassador Vance stood at the center, watching, thinking. Then her voice cut through the chaos. "Chancellor," Arixa turned. "We're fighting them wrong," Vance said. "How?" Arixa demanded. "They're reacting to us," Vance replied. "Every weapon, every tactic, they adapt." A pause. "Then we stop being predictable." Arixa's eyes narrowed. "That's easy to say." "No," Vance said firmly. "It's human." Corridor 7. Cole moved through the damaged sector, not rushing, tracking, listening. Another creature dropped from the ceiling. He didn't fire, didn't reach for anything. He stepped sideways, grabbed, used its own momentum, and slammed it into the wall, hard, again, until it stopped moving. Behind him, surviving guards watched in stunned silence. "You're not using standard tactics," one said. Cole didn't look back. "Standard tactics get learned." He glanced at them briefly. "Start thinking like you're fighting something that learns faster than you." A beat. Then, stop giving it something to learn. Command chamber. Ambassador Vance turned to the remaining command staff. "Disable armated targeting systems," she ordered. "What?" a technician protested. "They're predicting your patterns," she said. "Switch to manual control." "That will reduce accuracy." "It will reduce predictability," she corrected. A pause. Then, they obeyed. Outside, the station's fire changed, less precise, less uniform, more chaotic. Human. The enemy ships hesitated, just for a moment, and that moment mattered. Corridor, central junction. Cole stopped. 3 creatures, blocking the path. They shifted, adapting to him, learning his movements, his speed, his strength. Cole exhaled slowly. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Not friendly, not reassuring, something else, something ancient. "All right," he said quietly. "You learn fast." A step forward. "Let's see how you handle..." Another step. Unpredictable. He moved, and for the first time, the creatures couldn't keep up. Because he wasn't fighting like a machine. He wasn't fighting like a system. He wasn't even fighting like a trained soldier anymore. He was fighting like something older, something shaped by a world where survival meant adapting faster than anything trying to kill you. Unpredictable, relentless, human. Back in the chamber, the tide had not turned yet, but it had slowed. And for the first time since the attack began, hope flickered. Ambassador Vance watched the tactical display, then spoke softly. "Chancellor." Arixa looked. "Now you understand," Vance said. A pause. We're not dangerous because we fight. Her eyes shifted toward the lower levels, where one human was holding the line. We're dangerous because... Another explosion shook the station. We don't stop.
The station was still under attack, but something had changed. Not the enemy. They were still evolving, still adapting, still pressing forward with cold, inhuman precision. What changed was the humans. Central Junction, lower levels. Commander Adrian Cole stood alone. Around him, 3 broken forms of the creatures lay motionless. But more were coming. He could hear them, feel them, moving through walls, through vents, through the very structure of the station. Learning, always learning. Cole adjusted his stance slightly, ignoring the blood running down his arm, ignoring the fatigue creeping into his muscles, because none of that mattered. Only one thing did. Time. Every second he held them here was another second the station survived. Another second the people above him, the diplomats, the civilians, the species that had never known war, got to live. Another creature dropped into the corridor, then another, then 5 more. They didn't rush him this time. They spread out, adapting, surrounding, smarter now. Cole exhaled slowly. "Good," he muttered. His voice was calm, steady, almost approving. Learn faster. Because he would. Command chamber. "Status!" Chancellor Orix's voice rang out. "Boarding forces contained to lower sectors, but barely. Shield integrity at 3%, critical failure imminent. External fleet preparing another strike." The room was on the edge of collapse. Ambassador Vance stood at the center, silent, focused. Then she made a decision. "Open a channel," she said. "To who?" a technician asked. Vance's eyes locked onto the display. Them. The room froze. "You want to communicate with those things?" Orixa asked. "They're not mindless. They adapt. They learn. That means they think." A pause. "And thinking enemies can be reasoned with or delayed." Orixa hesitated. Another impact shook the station. That decided it. "Do it!" The channel opened. Static filled the air, distorted signals, unstable frequencies. Then it cleared. The same voice from before echoed through the chamber. "Resistance persists. Adaptation ongoing." Ambassador Vance stepped forward. "You've made your point," she said. A pause. "We are not easy prey." Silence. Then, correction. The voice shifted. "You are variable." A chill ran through the room. "Why are you here?" Vance demanded. Another pause. Then, the truth. "We are the Continuum. We seek optimization." The words felt wrong, cold, detached. "Civilizations are tested. Those that adapt are catalogued. Those that fail," a brief flicker of static, "are removed." Silence. Pure. Terrible. Ambassador Vance's jaw tightened. "You're harvesting species. We are refining existence." The room erupted in outrage. "This is genocide! You cannot—" "Quiet!" Orixa snapped. Vance didn't raise her voice. "Then test us," she said. A pause, longer this time. Then, "Already in progress." Lower levels. Cole was still fighting, but now he was slowing. Not because he was weak, because the enemy was learning him, matching his movements, predicting his patterns, adapting. One of the creatures lunged. He blocked. Too slow. It cut across his side, deep. Cole staggered back, but didn't fall, didn't stop, wouldn't. More came, closing in. No escape, no backup, just him and them.
Cole took a breath, then another, and in that moment, something shifted, not in the enemy, in him. He stopped thinking like a soldier, stopped thinking like a strategist, stopped thinking like anything predictable, and became something else, something older, something every human carried deep inside, the part that refused to die, the part that kept going when logic said stop, the part that turned survival into defiance. He stepped forward, not defensive, not cautious, aggressive, wild, unpredictable. He moved wrong, intentionally wrong, breaking every pattern, every rhythm, every expectation. The creatures hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. They couldn't predict this, couldn't model it, couldn't understand it, and that was enough. Cole struck, again, again, again. Not perfect, not clean, but relentless. And slowly, impossibly, the creatures began to fall. Not because he was stronger, but because he was something they couldn't fully learn. Command chamber. Final decision. "They're losing cohesion," a technician said suddenly. "What?" Arixa snapped. "The boarding units, they're slowing. Error rates increasing." Vance's eyes widened. "He's doing it!" "Doing what?" Arixa asked. "Breaking their model." Lower levels. Cole dropped to one knee, breathing hard, bleeding, surrounded by stillness. The creatures had stopped moving, not destroyed, not dead, just inactive, like something had told them to stop. Command chamber. The voice returned, but it had changed, slower, uncertain. Anomaly detected, subject human, behavior inconsistent, prediction models failing. A pause. Re-evaluation required. The fleet outside stopped, weapons powered down, energy signature stabilized. The entire station held its breath. Then, conclusion. A long pause, long enough to feel like judgment. Humanity classified as. Static flickered, as if the system itself struggled. Then, non-optimizable. A ripple of confusion spread. "What does that mean?" someone whispered. The answer came immediately. "Unpredictable variables cannot be reliably culled. Risk exceeds value." Another pause, then status preserved. The fleet began to withdraw. No final attack, no retaliation, just gone, as if they had never been there. Aftermath. Assembly chamber. Silence. No alarms, no movement, just stunned disbelief. Ambassador Vance closed her eyes briefly, then exhaled. "They left," she said. Arixa looked at her. "No," the Chancellor said quietly. "They decided." Lower levels. Rescue teams finally reached him. Commander Adrian Cole was still conscious, barely, but when they tried to lift him, he shook his head slightly. "The ambassador," he said. "She's safe," one of them replied. A small nod. That was enough. Final scene. Assembly chamber. Hours later, the chamber was quiet again. Different. Changed. Ambassador Vance stood beside Commander Cole, now treated, stabilized, but still standing, because of course he was. Chancellor Arixa stepped forward. "Today, we witnessed something unprecedented." A pause. "We were tested." Gaze shifted to Cole. "And we survived because of a species we feared." Silence. Then, "Humanity does not fit our models." Another pause. "And that may be exactly what we need." She turned to the assembly. "All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Union." The vote was immediate, unanimous, no hesitation, no opposition. Final moments. Later, as the chamber emptied, one delegate approached Cole.
"You are dangerous," they said carefully. Cole met their gaze. "Yes." A pause, but not in the way you thought. The delegate hesitated. "Then how?" Cole's expression softened, just slightly. "Because we don't follow patterns," he said. He glanced towards the stars beyond the station. "Even when we should." A faint smile. "And especially when it matters."